Well, here's the tube tester that I got off of eBay. It's hard to tell from those pictures on eBay what kind of condition these things are in. I don't know if you can see it, but the meter looks... Somebody's definitely worked on this. There's something taped inside the meter. It's pretty weird. Let's see if I can... The cord's kind of messing with me a little bit here, so I can get this thing in a position where the light is on it and you can see it still. Yeah. See, there's something in there. Don't know what that is. But to get it inside of the meter, that means they probably had the meter apart. And this could be something that's important to this meter working. I have not tried turning this zeroing device. Seems to work. The zeroing device seems to work, so maybe, I don't know how this got in here. It's a mystery to me. But the overall condition of this, let's widen this out a little bit here, is kind of poor. But I knew that when I bought it. I'm not too upset. Cosmetic stuff doesn't bother me. All of the switches seem to work. This is a little bit loose here. I'm not sure what's going on there. It's a chicken head switch, and it's not like a position switch. It's more like a rheostat, like a volume control. But there's some slop, but it doesn't come off, so I'm not sure what's going on there. The light for the short light is broken. I can see the filament. It's broken. The circuit overload light must be pushed inside. I can tell right away that somebody has done some work on this. This is pretty pliable. So this wire's been replaced. This one is hard. It's stiff and it's broken. So this is going to need to be replaced. This wire is. The switches all seem to work. See, I don't feel that looseness in this one like I do here. Everything seems to work. The roll, it kind of stops every once in a while. I think I'll take this apart and look at it, but every once in a while it'll stop. These all work, but you can see some of them are bent. That's no big deal to straighten that. The tube sockets look okay. This one over here is kind of funny looking. I'm not sure what's going on with that. If that's the way it came, I don't know. Maybe it's rust. But I wouldn't think that they would make the tube socket out of metal, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. It looks okay though. And then it's been in a moist area. You can tell there's some rust on it. So it wasn't stored in the real nicest of places, apparently. I know these electronics, these old electronics, the resistors in them don't do well when they're exposed to moisture. It's got an old... I like this connector. I wish it wasn't broken. I really like this connector. I wish it was not broken. That's a bummer. I've got a kind of a neat older one that I took off of an old radio a while ago that I kind of like. I like this one too. This one's nice. I don't know how important it is to have a polarized connector on this. I guess I probably should put a polarized connector on it. This one even has a logo on it. The Handy Plug. That is so cool. And I like how this thing comes apart too. It just unscrews. So you can change the cord. It is really neat. I mean, it's not that big a deal to mess with this. I mean, this is quality, right? They used to make stuff that was quality. Just little stuff like this, you know? And I hope we learn our lessons with China, the way things have turned out and how they've been so dishonest about stuff, especially with this COVID-19. But I digress. I'm not going to go into that. I just hope we learn our lessons, that we start making stuff in America more, especially stuff that we absolutely positively need and cannot depend on other countries for. But that's not my position to say one way or the other. I'm going to take the cover off this, and we'll come back and take a look at the inside of it. Well, I took it apart, took the 2, 4, 6, 8 screws that hold the outside. Luckily all the screws are there. This is what I found though with that light. I think this was the short light. The power cord goes directly to it apparently. I don't know why they glued this stuff, because they probably didn't have the cord secured inside the case, and the cord was pulling on this light, so they glued the other one too, the other light socket in place, which I don't understand. They have grommets here that are still pliable. They're not bad. I mean, they're not horribly bad, and the light does slide up in there and stay. If a guy would have just secured this somehow inside the case, which I'm gonna do. That wire that had been replaced, I didn't take the tape off of it, but they only did, right? Black tape. So why would you not go all the way to the terminal right here where it ends? What is that? What was that noise? Oh, the switch, the on-off switch. The on-off switch is a toggle, and tipping it forward tripped the toggle, and it scared me. Easy to do these days. So they could have just changed this wire all the way to here. They must not have owned a soldering iron. I don't know. It does not look like there's a lot of capacitors in here. It looks like there's one capacitor. So I'm going to have to compare that to the schematic to make sure. Kind of weird, those no electrolytic capacitors in here. What is this tube? I'm assuming this is just a rectifier tube, as short as that is. So it's got to be a power tube. We got a rectifier and no electrolytics. That seems weird. I wonder if there's parts missing. I have not looked at the schematic, so I don't know. And you see they glued these lights in too. Or tried to, somehow. Maybe liquid electric tape. It's kind of weird. These probably backlight the dial. The tube information scroll. This transformer has a lot of leads on it, and if this transformer's bad, I think replacing this is probably not going to be an option. So this could be a parts rig. This could be a parts rig. These are all those lever switches, and I'm assuming, look at all the wires coming out of that. There are a lot of different voltages coming out of that, and thank God it's cloth covered wire. It's not that rubber crap that this other stuff is made out of. It's brittle as... There's quite a bit of that rubber stuff in here. The old rubber wire, you can tell it. You can tell this stuff because it starts growing. And it's hard. Not sure what that is. But if I don't have to change that stuff, I'm not going to. Because if it's not cracked out, then there's no reason to mess with it. Looks like there's a big power resistor right here and a bunch of smaller resistors on here, but they look like standard resistors, not like inside the Heath kit. There are special resistors that are on that switch inside the Heath kit vacuum tube voltmeter. So I don't know if this is going to be that big a deal, this big of a project. I need to find out about those electrolytics. It's kind of weird there's no electrolytic capacitors in this thing. I don't know what's going on there. I'm going to look and see if there are. They could just be missing. You know, somebody may have started working on this and then, but it doesn't look like it to me. They may have cut them flush somewhere, and then they found out that this wasn't working right. I don't know. I'm going to have to look and see. And the wiring on this is, it's kind of weird. This isn't, it's still kind of flexible, so Like it's that newer PVC type wire. I don't know. It's hard to tell the rework because some of these were kits, right? And they were put together by somebody. It came in a box of parts and they followed the instructions and soldered stuff together, you know? I would have loved to have done this. Seems awful complicated though. Until I find out about that electrolytic, I'm not going to power this up to make sure that we aren't missing electrolytic capacitors. What is that right there? That looks like some sort of inductor or maybe a wire wound resistor. I'm not sure if you can see that in there. This right here. See if we can zoom in on that a little bit. Never seen one like that before. Oh, you know what? It looks like a dog bone with a piece of heat shrink over it. But it doesn't have the body end dot set up on it. Not sure what that is. I'm going to have to look on the old schematic. I'll have to download a copy of the schematic. Well, I guess that's it for now. You know, there's some resistors down here, resistor here. But it doesn't look like too much. There's a resistor there. It doesn't look like too much to replace if these resistors are bad. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 resistors. I don't think this wire round can go bad, but I'll check it. 5 resistors. 6 with this big one, with this big power resistor. 6. And this is probably a 2 watt. This is probably a 2 watt resistor down here. I mean, look how big they were back then. Things are a lot smaller now. I've got 2 watt resistors, so that's orange, white, gold. Should be 3. What is gold? Is that a... Oh, that's a tense. So that would be... Orange would be 3, white would be 9, and gold would be 0.1. So 3.9 ohms. 3.9 ohms. I think I'm right about that. 3.9 ohms. I'm going to have to do some looking. 3.9 ohms is probably what that is. That's pretty low. 3.9. I wonder if I can even get one of those. I know I definitely don't have one. What do we got going on in there? So green, red, black, brown. Why so many colors? Green, red, black, brown. Green, red. Okay, so green would be 5. Red would be 2. And brown would be 1, 0. So 520 ohms. And it's got a gold band on it. And it's close. It's not on the other end. So this could be 50. No, because it's got a brown. So 50. It would be 52. Or 520 with the 20%, or with the 10%, with a 5%. Sorry, 5%. Gold is 5%. And this one, I'll look at the schematic, but that one looks like orange, blue, red with gold. And this one looks like it's kind of funny that they would put brown on a brown resistor. But blue and brown with a silver. And silver would be, if its percentage is 10, but if it's indicating a decimal point, it would be 2 decimal points. So that would be less than an ohm because there's only 2 identifying numbers on it, blue and brown. So blue would be 6. Brown would be 0. So what? 0.6 of an ohm? I doubt it. Like I said, I'll have to look at the schematic and see what these are. There's not very many of them. I'll get back to you. Thanks. I'll get back to you as soon as I get to the next step here of powering it up, possibly, if there's no electrolytics. I have a 0.1 resistor, film resistor, to replace this with. 0.01. I've got these. 400, no problem. I've got 650 volt 0.01s. Change that all day long. And the wiring to it, it's not brittle. So we might be able to just, you know, that looks like, yeah, we might be able to cut that, strip that back, you know, and just J-hook it in here. It's not going to be that big a deal. Alright, we'll get back to it. Well, all the resistors need to be changed in that. I didn't check the big wire wound one, but I will. The resistors all need to be changed. They're not within spec whatsoever. But I thought before I go any further, I need to figure this out. What is going on with the gauge, right? With the meter. So I took it apart. And I was surprised to find a date. 1952, September 9th, 1952. I did not know when these things were made, but it kind of goes along with the wiring, you know, that old rotting rubber wiring. That's about when they were making that crap. I don't know for sure, but 1952 is the date on that meter. That's pretty cool. I do not know what this is. I have no idea what that is. I have no clue. I have absolutely no clue what that is. What I think happened, these screws here, little flat washers with screws in them. See how that's got a little step to it? I don't know if that's going to show up very well. But these little screws with flat washers screwed in right here and here, and we're holding the glass into place. So what I think happened is they broke. Somebody probably dropped something on this where it was lived most of its life and busted these two guys out, and their fix was old school scotch tape. You know? They used to use that stuff for everything. So I think we could probably come up with some sort of adhesive we could put around this edge to glue this into place and then back it up with these screws. I don't think making new mountings in here would be a good idea because I don't have the old washers and screws. If I had the old washers and screws, I would try and repair the holes. With today's epoxies, that would not be that big a deal. It would not be that big a deal. You could just, you know, sand it out real nice, you know, just make it nice and rough. Take a piece of tape or something to make a dam. To make a dam in here and just fill it up. And then if it was too high, you could just take a razor knife and cut it down until it's flush. Re-drill the holes and screw it in. But we can't do that. And I'm not going to do that. I think some sort of adhesive between here and here. There's enough of a lip right here. I think you could get a good bond on this glass. And this is a piece of glass, so I'll be able to clean this up real nice. It should not be scratched. Everything, it should just clean up real good. It'll be clear as glass again. Clear as glass. Alright, well, pretty interesting, the date, 1952. Never know how old this equipment's going to be when you open it. So maybe the meters were all made at one time and this thing was, you know, something that got made, you know, years and years ago, got sold. Who knows? I don't know. But I will get this back together properly. You will never be, well, you might be able to tell, but I don't know that it really matters. It's for me at home. For testing the tubes for an amateur, my hobby. Until next time. Well, I got the meter back together and installed. I haven't gotten any more parts for it. I need to get resistors. I don't have the correct resistors to replace these guys here on this switch. This one here too is out. This one's really accurate. This one's right on the money, but from what I've read, you can make this one adjustable to match the voltages perfectly, but I don't know. I don't know if I need to get that nitpicky about it. It's just an emissions tester. It's not a dual, you know, it's not one of the dynamic dual conductance ones. This is just an emissions tester, but the meter's back in and it looks really good. I used 2 different products on it. I got some of this Loctite glass glue. It seemed to work pretty good, and then over the top of it I put a 5-min epoxy on the edge of it. I should have filmed it, but anyway, I glued the glass in, put the 2 screws in, and then over the top of the glass, along the edge, I put a thin, 2 thin strips of the epoxy to hold the glass in. So let's turn it over and see what it looks like. The glass cleaned up beautifully. I still need to replace some wires. I don't think I have any black wire. I don't think I have any of the correct wire for... Damn, this damn cord. I don't think I have any of the correct... But the glass turned out very nice in my opinion. I think it did. I think this turned out very nice. It's in there solid. You can... I didn't notice this before, but there was an impact right there. You can see it. You can see the nick out of the glass right here. So something did get dropped on this to knock this in there, and I think what they did, that piece of crap that was in there, we didn't know what it was, I think they put that in there as a spacer, because the screws are going to hold this end, but the 2 screws got broken out up here. I'm surprised the glass didn't get broke. So I think they taped that piece in there as a spacer to hold the glass up on this edge, but now it's glued, and it's glued and epoxied in there, so I don't think it can come out. I don't think it's possible for it to come out now. I did straighten the switches up a little bit. You can see they're all pretty straight now. I did, when I bought this one on eBay, because I didn't know the condition of it, and I didn't know if the transformer was okay, or if there was something majorly wrong with one of the parts you can't change, like the line adjust pot. I think this one's pretty hard to come by. I don't know that for 100%. But mainly I was worried about the transformer. So I bought another one. And it was cheaper than this one, and it's in better shape. I wish I would have seen the other one right off the bat. I pretty much bought this one for parts for the other one. But when it got here, this one arrived first, so I thought I would work on this one. I've checked everything out so far. I haven't plugged it in, but those resistors need to be changed on the select switch, I believe it is. We changed those resistors and the one resistor on the, and replaced this neon bulb for the short. This is a neon bulb, an N51. And from what I can tell, there's a bunch of different resistors that, depending on what bulb you put in here, it's a different resistor. NE51 bulbs. So I'm going to have to, and I can't get it locally. I have to order it online. So I got to order resistors anyway. And I'm making a big parts list for some radios. Pardon me. I'm making a big capacitor and resistor order for some radios. I got 4 radios, 5 radios waiting in the queue. So until we get parts, this is going to be the thing we're going to work on for now. This one and the other one. The other one we'll take apart, and I might film it, I might not. I don't know. It might just be some bad resistors. I'll check the other one out, and we'll take a look at it. I'm going to put this one back together for now until I get parts. I need to get some wire for this, some black wire to replace that. And there's some other wire in here that might need to be replaced if I'm digging around in here hard enough. Some of this stuff up here is pretty stiff. It's that rubber coated stuff that gets hard. Long as it's not broken, I am not touching it. But while I'm in here messing around with this, I might end up screwing something up. We'll see. This one's screwed up too, right? I need to change this chunk to here. This is a crappy repair. It's nice and pliable out here, but stiff in here and brittle. Okay, until I get parts, this is it for this one. I'm just going to put it back together and go put it away for a while, and we'll get the other tube tester out and take a look at it. Well, here's the inside of the other tube tester I bought, the Eico 625. Everything checks out okay. The transformer voltages look okay. You know, I can't really test them with the load on, so but they're close approximately to what they are according to the filament select switch. The resistors all look good in here except for one, and I changed it, which is this one, which I don't know if the freaking light's gonna get on it so we can see it. Let's look here. Okay, so all of these resistors on this switch, let's go a little wider here. Why can't this light that up very well? Okay, so there's 4 resistors on this switch. There's a big wire wound high wattage resistor down here. On the other one, it was up top. It was a different design. This is the one that was bad, and it's a low numbered one. I don't remember what it is now, but I just put one that I had in my box over there. The rest of them are all within their tolerance, the gold bands on them. So this appears to be a low hour. From what I've read, this resistor, I thought that this gold band here was a decimal point, which I still do think it is. It's a 3.9 ohm resistor, and it's really close. From what the instructions say, it says a 3 to pardon me, a 3 to 5 ohm resistor. And how they come up with this 3.9, I don't know. This is the overload short switch, I believe. This is the overload light. This is the it'd be nice if I would have been watching my camera work for you guys, huh? So you could see what's going on. This resistor here is the one I was talking about, is a 3.9. This gold band here designates decimal point 3.9, and it's a silver band for tolerance. It's right on the money. The rest of these resistors are okay. The resistor that's on here that I covered up is okay. It's too close to this, and it doesn't sit in here very nice. And I just didn't want it shorting out here on this wire. I put a new power cord on it. The power cord it came with was crusty. It was real bad. So I went ahead and changed it. This resistor is okay. I did change this capacitor, and the wiring diagram calls for a 0.01 microfarad. And what was in here, let's put this down. I need to bring this over here so it's not sitting all the way down onto nothing. So it sits on that. Was this capacitor here. And I'm not sure if you can see. So 0.05. 0.005. I didn't have a 0.005. I had a 0.006. And the wiring diagram calls for a 0.01. How they derive to a different, this is obviously original. How they derive to a different capacitor there, I don't know. I looked online and it said the same. It said some guys, some of theirs had a 0.005 and some of them had a 0.01. So I put a 0.06. That's as close as I had. I don't think it's going to really matter because it's going to the short. It goes to the short. So long as the light lights up, I guess it's okay. I think that capacitance and that resistor that sits here might have something to do with the threshold for the short, when the short light comes on. How much of a short you want to show. I don't know. I'm not really too overly concerned with it. These lights were really loose in here, and these grommets, I don't have the right size ones, so I just put some black tape on here. Put some black tape on there to tighten them up in their holders. I did the same thing for this one and this one both. I put some black tape on them so they sit in their grommets a little better. Since I didn't have the right size grommets, I do have some grommets that fit, but the light bulbs fit loose in them, so I didn't change these guys. The roll chart works a little better on this one. The other one, it's the paper's loose on the shaft somehow. I don't know how that would happen. That kind of indicates to me that it slipped in here on these gears. That somehow it got loose on these gears in there. It had to have loosened up. Kind of skipped maybe, I don't know. When I got this one, this was bent up from somebody pushing on this really hard. It was bent right here, so I just removed this switch and straightened it back out and put the switch, because this is what holds it, is this switch. Is what holds this bracket in here. It works really well now, so I'm not going to complain. It works a lot better than the other one. The other one I'm going to fix yet. So I would have a comparative. We've seen that date on the other on the other gauge. Let's look at the front panel. We are missing one. We're missing one, and this one is somehow it's moved on its shaft, but it makes connection all the way through. I'm not sure. I looked at the mechanism itself, and I'm not sure how it could move. I'm not going to worry about it too much because it's working. You just have to make sure where it's at. Remember. I know it seems kind of stupid. If you can't trust your test equipment, right, then you got problems. I don't know. This gauge is in pretty good shape. I mean, this meter is in pretty good shape. I didn't have to do anything with it. It probably could be cleaned up a little bit better. The glass is okay. I mean, I can read it. I'll take some glass cleaner and clean that. This is the roll chart. Let's widen this out a little bit so we can see more of it. The roll chart works really well. I mean, it just works. It works good. This lens is held in here by some old tape. Someday I might take this apart and retape it in there or glue it. I'm not sure. But it works great. I mean, the roll chart just works good. I think this did not come with this socket. I think somebody may have added that in, or it was a kit. I know that some of these are kits, but it looks original. But the mounting doesn't look right for it. The socket itself does not look right to fit the machine. You know, as these ones have the little clips that hold them. Not screws. This one's got a screw that's holding it. So I'm imagining that somebody added this in and it was a kit that they had built. This might have been a kit that somebody built at home. I kind of went over all of the joints. Everything looks like it got soldered. A lot of these kits, there's solder joints that got missed. They're in a hurry to build them. I don't know if you can see this one here. It looks like it did not get soldered, but it is. So they did a pretty good job of putting this together, whoever did. And it's definitely, I think, a low hour tube tester. I think that other one got used a lot. So it may have been in a shop, you know, a radio or some sort of... somebody used it a lot. You can tell from the roll chart paint is worn off of it. The date on that other gauge, I don't know if it's going to show up on the camera, but we're going to try. If you can see, let's get the deeper view in here on this. I'm going to try. You can see the date in there, 54. I'm going to try really hard for you. think you can see the date in there of 54. I think I need to change this angle a little bit more. Without taking it apart, I think you can see that in there. 54. I think it says November. I'm gonna look myself. Yeah, November something 54. I know the glare and all that's gonna really mess with it, but 1954. The other one was 53. So my thought on the gauge on these meters all being built on at one run, you know, and then they just had a box of them that they kept putting in meters until they stopped making this, or in kits. So maybe the other one was built at the factory and this one was a kit. I'm not sure. But you can see the paint is not wore off down here like that other one is, the roll chart paint around this roll chart thumb wheel. The paint's not wore off, but you can see what I'm talking about, this socket, right? Being different with the screw in it. So I think somebody got this as a kit and then added that on. So something else that was screwed up with it was this switch was intermittent. You have to really push on it. I put contact cleaner in there. I may in the future change that switch if I come across one that's pretty solid. I don't like the new plasticky switches they make today. I don't like them. I'm gonna have to get one of these for this, but it works. I don't think there's any, since it's got a transformer in it, I don't think there's any chance of getting electrocuted. So let's put this back together and then we'll get a tube or two over here and check, see how it works. Well, we're gonna test this. We got a 35Z5. I'm not sure if these testers can do these rectifier tubes, but it's listed on the chart, 35Z5. So the shunt has got to be at 17. The filament at 32. SEL is at 3. These switches, they list the switches. The first set is up, so number 5 is up, and 2, 3, and 8 are down. 2, 3, and 8 are down. And remember, this switch is not centered, right? So it doesn't line up, but it is centered, so it is in the center position, not making contact with anything. Go ahead and flip it on and let it start getting warmed up. But I think the first thing we need to do is the line. Oh, the tube ain't warmed up. There, the tube is warming up. We'll let it run here for a couple of seconds, but we can adjust the. You want to adjust that needle when you're in the line adjust, so it sits on that line in the center there. And the book says as long as it's within that line, you're okay. See, as it warms up more, it's going to work its way. The book says to check for shorts. This light will light up when you have a short, which is the neon bulb. There's one that's in bold or underlined. And the 35Z5 is number 3 is underlined. So you don't move that. You don't move number 3. But you can... Is 2 underlined? 2? Yeah, 2's underlined. So these 2 you don't move because they're the filament. But if you want to check the short bulb, I believe you can flip this and it'll make that bulb come on. We'll put this back to, well, we want to line adjust this, make sure that line adjust is right. We'll put this back over to 3. And to make that light come on, I believe, yeah, see the neon bulb come on when you move those guys up. So, but 5, the bulb does not come on, so we put that back in position. And the other one was 8 that's tripped. So there's no shorts with that. Obviously the filament is working. You can see it glowing over here if I clean the top of the tube off a little better. I didn't wash this tube. I should have washed the tube. Now we have all of our adjustments correct. We can push this button. We need to watch to make sure this light bulb doesn't come on. and then we watch the meter. So it's showing weak. And I don't know how a rectifier tube can be weak. Are both elements warming up in there? Because there should be a center tap on this as well, right, for the light bulb? It's not too incredibly hot. Maybe there's only one filament in that. Looks like there's only one. So let's put it back on line adjust to make sure. So we're off a little bit, but I don't know how far that's going to throw our measurement off. I don't know how a rectifier tube could be weak. But it's showing weak. We got a weak rectifier tube. A 35 Z5. I don't know how that could be weak. I don't know these bulbs that well. Or these tubes anyway. I wonder if a guy could, when that's in the radio, and look at the rectification with the scope, what it looks like. We'll let this warm up a little bit further and check that line adjust again. It's right on the money. See, I don't think it's ever going to get up into the good. We'll let it warm up a little further. That seems kind of weird, right? It's pretty consistently going to the same spot. Okay, well, we'll turn this off. We'll let that bulb, is it hot? It's warm, but not hot. We'll get another bulb, and we'll get another tube and check it. I think we'll check a 50, I think it's a 50L6 out of the radio I got over here. So we'll take a look at that real quick. Be right back. Well, here's a 50L6 GT. The instructions say not to put that in until you have, so put all these switches back to the center. This is going to be a 50 volt. I don't even need to look, make sure to see. But we'll go on the roll chart and see if we can find a 50L6. It should be on the roll chart. 50L6. So shunt to 17 again. Shunt's on 17. 50, we know that. SEL on 3. 3, 4, and 5 are up. 3, 4, and 5 are up. 50L6. 3, 4, and 5 are up. 2 and 8 are down. 2 and 8. And there's only one number underlined on that one, on the 50L6, and that's the number 2. So we'll put the tube in. Okay, the tube's going into the socket. Flip the machine on. Oh yeah, those backlights. Take a look at that. They light up really well. They light that up very nice. I don't know that a guy would ever be using this in the dark, but they do work. They work very nice. If you're going to use this in the dark, I would say this needed a light inside of it as well, but whatever. So it's lighting up. I can see the element getting warm in there. There should be 2 of them in that one, but it's hard to see both of them from the angle there. Let's check that line adjust. The line adjust looks good. Go ahead and check for shorts. So 2 we don't move, but 3 we can. There's no underline under 3, 50L6. 3, 4, and 5 we can move. We're going to watch this bulb here, the short bulb. It's okay for it to flash, but it should not come on and stay on. Ooh. Well, now it's staying shorted. I'd say we got a bad bulb. That's staying lit. So it says if you find a short, do not go any further. So that's kind of weird. It didn't show up until I flipped that switch. Let's check that line adjust again just to be sure. Looks like it's still good. Why doesn't that come on right away? It is coming on right away. Okay, I'm calling that tube bad. I got a bad 50L6. Do I have another 50L6? It's a 35. I think this might be a 50L6. This is a 50L6 GT. And I think I took this out of a radio because it was supposed to be a 35. So let's check this one. I think the radio worked with this one in there. It was just a little bit not very loud, you know. So let's double check this. We're on 50 filament. We're going to make sure we're on 17 over here. We're on 17. Let's double check the switches just to be sure. 50L6. 3, 4, and 5 up. 3, 4, and 5 are up. 2 and 8 are down. 2 and 8. And this one, that's the one that doesn't center, doesn't go show center. The switch physically centers, it just doesn't line up with the rest of them for some frickin' reason. Let's go ahead and turn this on, flip it over to line adjust. You know, that's kind of funny. This has got a bunch of gitter in it, all of this. But the gitter on this isn't bad on the top. I wonder what the difference is between these different brands, huh? This is an Admiral. I think that one, we'll see what brand that one is when we're done. Alright. So let's check our... See, the light doesn't come on. So that tube appears to be okay. Let's push the test button. This is on SCL3, right? Yeah, SCL3. Oh yeah, we're way good on that one. That's a pretty good tube. So that other tube I think is definitely bad by just comparison. This Admiral 35 has got a short internally. And the radio this came out of was not making any noise. I powered it up and it wasn't making any noise. No noise to the speaker. So I'm assuming this is probably the problem, the output. I guess we'll get to that radio here shortly. I just pulled it apart to make a parts list so I can just make one big giant parts list, which I will get the capacitors and resistors for the other tester. And we'll check that bulb in the other tester too, or that tube in the other tester as well. So we'll put all of these, turn it off and put these all back to center. All right, we'll check one more, and then I'll do the rest off camera in that other radio. But maybe I'll call it good right here for this tester. This kind of shows this tester's working, that we did find a bad bulb, and luckily we had another one to check it with that I had laying on my bench that I had forgotten that I had laying on my bench. It has gotten in my way a few times. So this is a Philco tube. This one is a Sylvania, or an Admiral. So this had to have come out of a... This came out of a GE radio that I was making a parts list for, and this... I think this came out of a... You know, I can't remember which radio this came out of, but I want to say it came out of the... I don't remember now. It might have been that Firestone. Might have been an old Firestone radio. So this I want to keep. This is a good tube. I will try this one in that radio eventually. So I don't have to order a 50. I've got one. Alright, we'll call it for now. So this one's done, and the other one we're waiting on capacitors and resistors when I make the big order. So thanks for watching, and leave a comment down below.